point in time is kind of guesstimate, and we're guesstimating right now at 400,000.
What do other small towns do with these same kind of trucks? What's the rule of thumb? We're talking hours and mileage has nothing to do with it.
The NFPA standard for replacement of a truck is 15 years. Most of the towns around here are going 15 to 20. Some are going lower. Like I said, this one next year will be 28 years old. You can only get so much out of them. And please bear in mind that these are vehicles that supply us water when we're inside a building trying to put the fire out.
Right?
Right.
French Arborways. I think something that's important to bring up, especially like on this one article, how much money do we currently have in the fire department's capital reserve fund?
$356,523.
Another question for Kim.
Kim, in your opinion, do you feel it's time to get a committee together, look at all the aspects of the truck and start something it out this year?
Absolutely.
I would like to make a motion, sir, if I may.
I would like to see if there's any more questions for Kim. I had a hand in back, lady in back. Yeah.
Kathy Dowse from Mechanic Street. Kim, I just want to check, are there any current concerns on the truck right now? Are there any issues?
It's 27 years old. How many people in here actually driving a vehicle that's 27 years old? And number two, depending upon their supply of water inside a building.
What do you mean, are the pipes, are the water pipes worn, or, I mean, are there?
The only way to tell if the water pipes are worn is to take it apart. The only thing we can do is use it until it flows again, and then we haven't had pipes blow in there because it is black iron pipe. Newer versions usually run stainless steel.
Claire will come here, I think I'd like to speak to that.
Yeah, I'd like to just kind of make a comment on the engine. My name's Becky Bell, I'm a firefighter agency. I live in the village, I respond to the village station. I know the hours and the miles sound really, really strange. I invite anybody here, anybody in the town to meet up with me, come down to the village. I'd be more than happy to show you the equipment in the station. Myself, getting in the truck, we've got flat belts that were back in the 70s. It doesn't handle very good. I could go on with a huge list, which I didn't bring with me today, of things that I don't feel safe with. Just leaving the station, no less all the other things that we got to do once we get on the scene. It's more than time to replace. But I'd encourage anybody, I'd show you the truck in a heartbeat. We've got pieces of the truck falling off.
We have questions back here about the truck.
Over the chair, is there any resale value on that?
I would guesstimate that the resale on that would basically be scrapped. You might find a farmer that might be interested in it, but as far as actually using it for a fire truck after this, it's done.
Julie?
I know we're doing capital reserve and we're talking about one truck, but that's only what has to be replaced now. So my question is, what are you looking at? You know, what are the ages and conditions of ones that are going to have to be replaced within 5 years? If we spend all of our capital reserves this time, then we have the next $400,000 to spend in a couple of years.
Our rescue truck is currently a 1984. That should have been replaced a while back. It's small, it's undersized. The only amount of weight that we can carry on it is about 800 pounds. So we're extremely limited into how much we can replace in that. That's not really on the screen right now. The next one that's on the screen is the 2000 Pierce that's up in East Alstead. And that should be done in 2020 at 20 years. What we found over the life expectancies of the last 3 fire trucks that we've replaced, the last 3 to 5 years that we've kept them running has cost us far more than what we received when we sold them.
All right.
Yes. Again, for Kim, I remember back when we raised the money for the tanker, it was $400,000, is this correct?
Tanker, the new one,
The last one?
215.
Fine. Right? And we were told at the town meeting that the old tanker wasn't fit for the road, it was unroadworthy, and everything else, so we all bought it. We gave you a new tanker. Well, we got the new tanker, what did the town do? We took the old tanker and converted it over into the landfill truck, and they ran it for 2 years later, back and forth to Plymouth. That truck wasn't good enough to stay in the garage as a tanker, but it was good enough to run up and down the road back and forth to Plymouth at our expense. And the truck wasn't good enough to use for the fire tanker.
To be fair, number one, that had an oil tank on it. It's a proven fact that oil tanks do not make good water tanks. Number one. Number two, if you walked by that truck, you would have had the water landing on you from the leaks that were in it.
But it was roadworthy, and you told us it wasn't roadworthy.
How much did you put into that when you put that back on the road? Do you remember?
I don't remember off the top of my head, but it was a long.
But I'm just writing this up so we can think about it. I'm not against capital reserves, Kim. I want to see some put in, but for $75 or
Sir, you would like to make a motion?
Yeah, first question to Kim, if I may.
Yeah, please.
Kim, we all know that you see these fancy fire trucks with all the chrome and everything else on it. Fire trucks are at the fight fires, we don't really need all of that chrome. Are you looking at something that's going to be practical, with as much or as less chrome as you can, versus having a nice shiny truck?
Look at any of our trucks. There's virtually no gold leaf on them. They're all vinyl. The only chrome is protective chrome. We don't have the big federal Q siren out on the front bumper. They're as plain Jane as we can make them and still be safe with them.
Oh. Okay,
My
so,
second question is, I am making a motion that the fire department budget, number one, is put on to a vote, and secondly, to have a committee formed with the fire chief and people in this community, and one member from the selectmen, so that we can start looking at a new truck for next year and know what we're going to be wanting at that point. Because the sooner we start planning, the sooner we can get it next year.
Point of order, that's outside.
right, I don't really feel that that is relevant
Sure it is.
to Article 4 to appropriate funds, money for capital reserve.
The thing is, you still have to plan for a truck. As Tim can tell you, it can take up to 2 years to plan a truck from the time it's built and delivered. You need to start now on the committee to find out exactly what the chief wants.
I don't feel that is part of this. The planning, I think it's been explained to us earlier, we have a capital expenditures plan that is in the works. These things are planned. I think going to a selectmen's meeting and discussing this would be the appropriate place to instigate the start of a committee, but I don't believe it's relevant under this particular article. I would like the discussion to stay with the capital reserve.
Just one question. How many house fires did we have last year?
Last year we had 5. And that does not include mutual aid calls out of town to house fires.
Can I ask a question? How many of those houses did you save? Sir, how many of those houses were saved?
How many were saved, Kim?
Out of the 5 houses, how many were saved?
Packers.
How many of the houses were saved?
Define save.
Are they still living in the house?
We did not leave Sullivan. We saved as much as we could. Number one, we're a volunteer department. It depends on the timing of the alarm. and how far we have to go to get to it. We did not have any burn completely to the ground last year.
I also had, it's not just structure fires. I've gone to plenty of fires in ovens and kitchens and stuff that we put out before they become a structure fire, so you can't just look at the structure. You know, be getting to the house in it, and there's a lot of factors like the chief said, you know, what's burning, when it gets discovered. But the quicker I can get there before it turns into a structure fire, the better, obviously.
Do we have questions that are a little more specific to capital reserve? Fire Department Capital Reserve Fund, sir, right here.
Hi, Herbie, do you think we can get another 3 or 4 years out of that conference? Okay. Can you get another 3 or 4 years maybe out of that conference?
We can get it out of it, but I can't guarantee that it'll make it.
That's the same possibility that we could maybe push this off, maybe down the road and things like that.
Every year you put off replacing that down, costs us repair costs, and it raises the cost of the new engine. They don't stay steady, they keep going up every year.
If I can have your attention, please. No fire truck is going to be purchased at any time until this meeting has an article in front of it to discuss the purchase of that fire truck. At that time, we will have a thorough discussion of the purchase of a new fire truck. Right now, we are on the subject of putting money into a capital reserve fund. I would like your questions to please be directed at a capital reserve fund. Claude.
Yeah, I move that, make a motion to move the
I don't believe we have it. No, ma'am. No. Okay. It has been moved. All in favor of moving the question? Aye. All opposed? No. I'm going to have to take a show of hands on that one. All in favor of moving the question? Please. Okay.
Everyone sings up.
Yay, vote. Moving the question. Article 4, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $75,000 to be placed in the Fire Department Capital Reserve Fund. All in favor of that going on the ballot as written? Aye. Any opposed? Aye. I'm calling that an 8-5 vote. Been requested that we have a show of hands on that. All in favor to see if Article 4, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $75,000 to be placed in the Fire Department Capital Reserve Fund. This is just to see if we're approving this to go on the warrant. We're not voting yes or no on the article. All in favor, $75,000.
$21.
All of those opposed to putting it on, Article 4 on, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $75,000 to be placed in the Fire Department Capital Reserve Fund. to have some more discussion and try again? Again.
I'd like to make a motion to make the amount $50,000.
Okay. Moved and seconded that Article 4 be amended to the sum of $50,000. Is there any discussion? Randy?
I think we should keep voting on it until we get done with the work, so I move the question.
All those in favor of moving the question, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Okay, we are going to vote on the amendment. Article 4, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $50,000 to be placed in the Fire Department Capital Reserve Fund, established 1992. All in favor of the amendment? Aye. All opposed? Aye. I will call that an affirmative vote. We are now open to discussion on the amended Article 4. Is there any further discussion on the amended Article 4?
George Moore, Lieutenant of the East Alstead Station, and just as an observation, I've been a firefighter for close to 30 years, and fire apparatus is a very unique apparatus as compared to any other piece of equipment in town, in the sense that our lives as firefighters and your lives as homeowners literally depend on operating at 150% on a moment's notice, 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. They take a beating, and we talk about years, miles, and engine hours. Just after one run, I invite anybody to come look at the apparatus before we put it back to service, and you'll see that they do take a beating.
Mandate as to the age or the amount of hours on a fire truck when they have to be taken out of service.
There's nothing that says they have to. The NFPA standard says 15 years. We tried to get 20, and we're up to 27, 28 years now on this one.
And once again, I'd like to keep the discussion on the capital reserve account if we can.
I was a firefighter for 35 years. I just want to let people know that how much is human life worth? Is it worth an extra $25,000 so that your husband or your wife comes home from something? I've been trapped for a time. You can't do it if you have the equipment right now. But please, please think about the human life factor.
Glenn?
Sorry, but I'm not sure why we're actually discussing the fire truck, we're just discussing the capital reserve fund. But anyway, between the money that we already have saved and the $50,000 passage, we'll have enough money to buy that fire truck that everybody wants. So
Go.
Move the question.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that we end discussion on Article 4. All those in favor of moving the question, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed? In that case, Article 4 as amended to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $50,000 to be placed in the Fire Department Capital Reserve Fund. That's what will go on the back. Article 5, see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $10,000 to be placed in the Town Hall Capital Reserve Fund. No, we don't. There's no further discussion. It automatically, I'm sorry. Once we've moved the question and ended discussion on it, then the article, as it stands at that time, goes on the ballot. Article 5, see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $10,000 to be placed in the Town Hall Capital Reserve Fund, established 1992, Majority vote required, recommended by the Board of Selectmen. This appropriation is in addition to warrant article number 2, the operating budget. Do I have a motion?
Can I amend that now, or?
I need a motion.
I move that it be placed on the ballot as written.
Do I have a second? Moved and seconded that Article 5 be placed on the ballot as written. Do I have discussion? Tom, you have the floor.
Yeah, someone said, right now, our town hall is fine the way it is. We have a little reserve fund if things go wrong with the current place. Start putting money away for a new one, and we don't need one in this economic climate.
Tom's comment was basically that he felt we didn't need this.
Well, I mean, right now, and maybe in the near future, we don't need a new town hall. So why would we put money away? We have our capital reserve fund to handle anything that goes wrong with the current building. The current building is fine, so why start?
I think Matt would like to speak to that.
Yes, a lot of us think that the town hall we have is not adequate, which is why we're in this building instead of that building. The town hall is behind the fire station in the village. That's the town hall, as distinct from the town offices, which is a different place. There is no town hall on paper at this point. I think I'm probably the biggest champion of a new town hall someday, but in my opinion, it's probably not in the next 15 or 20 years. My plan to build a new town hall, as I envision it, that building is going to cost $3 million. And I intend to get the money from Homeland Security at the federal level by building an evacuation center. Of all the capital reserve accounts, this is probably the one I would vote against now, because this building is a long way off. At some point, we will need matching funds to put against the funds we find somewhere else that we don't have to raise by taxation, and that's my story.
Further discussion, Ira?
Yeah, I move to amend this article to read the sum of zero.
Second.
Moved and seconded to see if, to amend Article 5 to read, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $0 to be placed in the town hall capital reserve fund. Any discussion on the proposed amendment?
Move the question.
Move the question.
Moved and seconded that we move the question of the amendment. All those in favor of moving the question on the amendment, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Okay, I will ask for a vote to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $0 to be placed in the town hall capital reserve fund. All in favor of that amendment, please say aye. Aye. All opposed? No. Okay, we'll call that an affirmative vote.
We got one motion as well.
I am opening the floor back up for discussion on the amended Article 5.
We have right now by the town over $65,453 in capital fund for new building. At this point, I would like to make a motion that that money be transferred to the general operating fund in order to keep our rates low. That money pays for a brand new rate. That money we pay for a new fire truck right now. It's the fact that we want to eat steak, but in all reality, guys, we're eating hamburgers. No? So please.
By law, we can't just do that, Les. We can't just take money and that money and just move it. That's the whole point of creating a specific capital reserve fund so that people can have the assurance that's where the money's going. So we can't just.
I rescind my motion.
Thank you. Further discussion on the amended Article 5. John. Then moved and seconded that we move the question to end debate on the amended Article 5, all in favor of ending debate on Article 5, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay, in that case, Article 5 will be placed on the ballot to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $0 to be placed in the Town Hall Capital Reserve Fund established 1992. Article 6, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $25,000 to be placed in the Shed Quarry Library Capital Reserve Fund established in 2010. Majority vote required, recommended by the Board of Selectmen. This appropriation is in addition to warrant Article 2 of the operating budget. Do I have a motion?
Move to be placed on the ballot.
Second. Moved and seconded that Article 6 be placed on the ballot as written. Do I have discussion on Article 6?
Let's try to speed this up some. Someday the library is going to need a $400,000 roof, and that's what we're saving for.
Someday soon.
Why is it $400,000?
Because it's copper.
Why does it have to be copper?
Because it's a national historic
Fabulous building.
registry.
Yeah.
And the discussion up here was why will the library need a $400,000 roof? Because the building is on the National Register of Historic Places. And that's what it's going to take. Bob. Moved and seconded that we move the question on Article 6. All those in favor of ending debate on Article 6, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed? No. I'm calling out my vote. So we've ended discussion on Article 6. It will be placed on the ballot to end written. Article 7, see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $2,500 to be placed in the Ambulance Capital Reserve Fund. Majority vote required, recommended by the Board of Selectmen. This appropriation is in addition to warrant Article 2 of the operating budget. Do I have a motion?
Move it be placed on the ballot as written.
Do I have a second?
Were you finished with the voting on the on the ballot?
Once you've moved the question and voted to end discussion, it has to be on the ballot. We can't have any further discussion. Every warrant article has to go on the ballot. So once we're done with discussion on it, it goes on the ballot in whatever form we voted to amend it.
Well, we didn't vote. It was recommended and seconded.
Excuse me a minute while I can clear this up. Was there an amendment? There was no amendment. The motion was to place it on the ballot as written. We voted to end discussion. That's it. Discussion ended. It's on the ballot. We are not voting yes and no on these items. All we are doing is voting what to put on the ballot.
Yeah, I don't think we voted for it. That's fine. Go ahead. I'll vote.
Point of order.
And
I have a question. If a warrant article be reconsidered, can there be a vote to reconsider?
you are asking
For, on the last, capital reserve fund, the man was asking, or whoever it was up front was asking if they didn't think it was, can be reconsidered.
Yeah.
So I would make a motion that we reconsider if people want that.
Okay, we have a motion to reconsider article number 6. Good. Moved and seconded that we reconsider article number 6. Do I have discussion?
My question is, were there federal grants to go with this because it's a historical building that you can apply for to help us?
If there are, we'll find them. I don't know that there are.
You don't know that there is?
I don't know that there are, but we always try that angle for anything that might possibly offer such an advantage.